This is New Orleans. And yes, this Louisiana jewel sparkles 24/7, 365. I've been coming here for decades. But like any other worth your time corner of the globe, New Orleans is always evolving while remaining true to its heritage. People come from all over the world to see the mighty Mississippi River. They get out on the water, and some families take a tour under the water. Sure, the tourists, they love to party on Bourbon Street, but the residents love the Louisiana good life, and everyone loves the music. It's true what they say, New Orleans jazz feeds the soul, and you can hear it just about everywhere. Oh, and did I mention that the food here is unlike any other place on the planet? The attention to culinary detail in the glass and on the plate is simply unbelievable. So stay tuned, because we're just getting started on my return visit to New Orleans, Louisiana.
Beyond Your Backyard is being brought to you in part by the following.
Sky Vacations. Bespoke journeys across Europe, Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East. Sky Vacations, your gateway to global destinations. Let us get you there.
My name is Erik Hastings. Yeah, that's me. And for as long as I can remember, I've always loved to travel, and I still do today. But you know what I've learned? There's so much more that brings us together than divides us. Which is why I've made it my mission to do the very same things you can do, but to take you beyond the experiences, to uncover the soul of every place we visit. Let me introduce you to the people, the places, and the secrets that remind us how exciting it is to share with one another, to understand one another, and to realize just how connected we really are. I am Erik the Travel Guy, and this is Beyond Your Backyard. Thank you for watching, and welcome back to New Orleans. As you can see, we're starting our adventure together in a bar. But this isn't your average craft cocktail watering hole. Oh, no, no, no. This is the very popular Carousel Bar, which is located in the world-famous historic Hotel Montleone, in my favorite part of the French Quarter. Now, if you haven't been here in a few years, you may be surprised to learn that New Orleans is always evolving. That's why we are raising the bar on some of my favorite places and some of my favorite haunts. We're going to explore some of the new places. We're also going to answer a couple of questions about our own mortality, but we're also going to answer one big question, and that is, why is New Orleans called the Crescent City? I'll give you a hint. Old Man River, that... Oh, all right, fine. We'll keep it rolling. Let's take a look at our trusty map here. New Orleans is located in southeastern Louisiana and occupies both sides of the Mississippi River. Due to its low-lying topographic location, New Orleans is home to gorgeous parks, bayous, and recreational areas perfect for outdoor enthusiasts. The city's oldest section and heart of the downtown is the French Quarter, and it's located on the river's north side. Louisiana was originally settled by the French in 1718 and then switched hands to Spanish rule, only to come back again to the French, albeit briefly, before the United States finally acquired it in the very famous Louisiana Purchase of 1803. This volleying of the city back and forth in different cultures influenced the architectural and overall style of New Orleans, the French Quarter specifically. This area is now a registered historic landmark and home to Bourbon Street and the very heart of the city. Now back at the hotel, I met up with my dear friend and New Orleans insider expert, April Dupree. How do you describe New Orleans to somebody that's never been here, that's read about it, that's maybe done, but how do you say, okay, this is what you're gonna feel when you're there?
I would say New Orleans is a gumbo pot full of emotions in the best way possible. You get to experience the culture of our city, including our food, beverages, obviously our music that we're known for.
Right.
I mean, we're walking in the French Quarter right now. On any given day, you'll hear a second line, a street performer on the corner.
Right.
And it just is such a beautiful place with so much love.
Once again on my visit here, this town is greener than I had expected. The buildings have texture, detail, and in some cases, a storied past. As April and I continued our exploration, we got to talking about the Mississippi River.
But the river wasn't always readily accessible, was it?
Not necessarily, not for tourists and locals. So we have a ton of different renovations that have gone over the last few years that truly have changed the entire area.
So the reality of it is, if you've been to New Orleans, you know, say even 5 years ago,
Yeah.
that river is a lot more available to you.
Absolutely. We have the new renovation of the Aquarium and the Insectarium. They combine both of them together. We have the Four Seasons that just
Right.
came, and so they have an amazing view of the city. The 4th of July and New Year's fireworks, incredible.
Because there's only one Mississippi River.
Absolutely.
And plus we can get coffee and beignets on our way.
Absolutely.
One of the best views of the mighty Mississippi is from one of the newest must-do interactive attractions, and that would be View Orleans. It's a multimedia visual frenzy with the history, music, and culture of New Orleans. I captured the Crescent City from a new perspective, 34 floors above the most storied city in America. And yes, this is the very view to see the crescent-shaped bend of the river, which is why New Orleans is called the Crescent City. And that fact not only blew my mind, but also made me very hungry. Cue my question for April.
Is it muffaletta, muffaletta? Help me out.
Some people say muffaletta, some people say muffaletta, some people say muffaletta, muffaletta. Honestly, it all goes down and tastes the same anyway, so who cares how you say it?
Where are we
Good.
going today, by the way? What's the...
We are actually going to Napoleon House, so it's right in the middle of the quarter,
Okay.
historic district. It's beautiful, and actually the muffaletta or muffaletta, however you want to say it, was actually made to honor Italian immigrants that opened up grocery stores and convenience stores here.
I say we go in.
Yes,
this
let's
is gonna
go.
be amazing. I can't wait. You know that's my favorite sandwich.
Ooh,
Yeah,
well, you're
get
in for
in
a
there.
treat.
You're gonna love it.
Thank you. Hi, good morning.
I couldn't agree more. Napoleon House has been a New Orleans staple for more than 100 years, and Chris Montero deconstructs my all-time favorite sandwich.
When I talk about the sandwich that's in front of us, I treat with respect and reverence. I love it so much. What about the people coming down here from New York, New Jersey? They look at this sandwich and go, we've been eating these kinds of sandwiches for a long time. What makes this so special?
One is this combination of this great bread, right? A muffaletta, which is in Sicily, a loaf of bread, right?
Okay.
Is a muffaletta.
Okay.
Seeded round loaf.
Right.
In New Orleans, it morphed into something different, into a hearty sandwich, which, you know, a lot of cultures can relate to.
Yes.
But you took all these components and sort of bridged it with some New Orleans influence, and then with this great Italian tradition. And if you've not had it, I just think it's this combination of flavors that are a little unique. You know, that olive salad,
Right.
which is really one of the most unique aspects of a muffaletta, because they're all different.
And if you were going to make this sandwich at home, where's the stumbling block? Where do we get kind of sidetracked? It's got to be the bread.
It's got to be the bread. That's correct.
Because this bread is completely and utterly unique.
Yeah. What we try to do here is we make all the bread ourselves at our commissary bakery. We don't outsource it. The key thing is we make it every day. We deliver it every day, up to 200 loaves a day.
I noticed the plaque outside says the Mayor Girard House. Did I get that right? What is
Mayor
it?
Girard.
Girard. That's
Giraud, if we were in France.
Got
But in
it.
New Orleans, we say Girard because,
Girard.
you know, we slaughter French. here.
Of course.
So-
But that's not, we call it the Napoleon House.
Correct.
What's the difference?
So, you know, this is a National Historic Landmark.
Right.
That's an important aspect. There's not many in the city of New Orleans. Landmarks mean that this entity, whatever it is significant to the history of the United States. Mayor Girard was instrumental in winning the Battle of New Orleans. He was in charge of the Creole militia, 1/3 of that force that fought the British. And he also was a great liaison for Andrew Jackson and our really famous pirates, you know, Jean Lafitte and Dominique Q. You can make the argument that he helped helped impact that victory over the British. And he could have been speaking and have a different accent right now if it weren't for the Battle of New Orleans. And he was really important in that, and that sort of gets lost in our history here at the Napoleon House. If you talk to a New Orleanian, maybe if you asked 100 of them who was Mayor Girard, maybe 2 might know.
Really?
Right? They know Girard Street over in the CBD named after him, but they don't know why.
But they don't know why.
And but if you said Napoleon House, 98 of them would know what they were.
And yet, there's been a rumor that this was built for Napoleon, which there is no real documentation that supports that that's true.
And very little or none. Someone asked me for an artifact recently. I said, what do you mean?
I got nothing.
I got nothing. You know, it boils down to one thing. Napoleon was a superstar in his day, and he's got more staying power than Mayor Girard, right? Because he's such a big character, a big entity, that people embraced this wonderful this legend, this story that started shortly before his death. So he is a really important figure, and they're saying when Napoleon is captured for the second time after Waterloo and exiled to St. Helena, that obviously he's embellishing and adding to this apartment that he doesn't really need, because of course he's going to rescue him and offer him exile here. And it's a great story, but some historians say possibly barroom gossip at best.
At best. Right. When people come today, what do you tell them to order? They've got to have, they have to have this.
2 things.
Okay.
They're in front of us, right?
Yeah.
The muffalata sandwich, certainly a tradition here in New Orleans, one of our most popular delicacies here in the city, of which we have many.
Yes.
And then a cocktail, the Pimm's Cup, which we do uniquely here at the Napoleon House.
Did I get this right? You put pastrami on this?
Pastrami instead of mortadella, which is somewhat traditional.
Okay.
Also chickpeas in the olive salad, along with some other really cool ingredients that make it unique. It's a really a lot of ingredients in the olive salad.
That's cool.
I feel like it's one of the best. But you know, think about New Orleans food. Every gumbo is different. Every roast beef po' boy is kind of different, thin, thick, you know.
Could you, in a blind taste test, could you tell where things were made based on the ingredients
to some
from
extent.
This town, basically?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be that way, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to have a little, it's not supposed to be a one-size-fits-all thing.
Correct. I mean, we have our traditions, you know, our signatures and our iconic dishes.
Yeah.
But because of neighborhood and cultures and where you grew up and, you know, and whatever, they all vary differently. It makes it so amazing, right?
They have to get the sandwich, and they have to get a Pimm's Cup.
The Pimm's people, meaning the distillery, tell us that we sell more Pimm's by far than anyone in the U.S., but only second to the bar in London that created the Pimm's Cup 140 years ago. And they credit Uncle Joe, Giuseppe Impastato, with sort of introducing Pimm's to America.
Really?
Yeah. We have as many people or more come to try a Pimm's Cup here as we do for our amazing muffalata.
When was the muffalata invented? Right?
Well, we know a couple of things, right? We know that the Sicilian immigration was, want me to take one of these? The Sicilian immigration was in the late 1895 to 1905, right? And the family here, the Napoleon House came in 1901 from Palermo, Sicily.
Oh my gosh.
Somewhere in that next decade or more, this famous loaf of bread became something different here.
Got it.
So, but who can say, right? It was an evolution.
I wish people that haven't had this sandwich, I wish they could understand the weight and what's gonna, my mouth is watering, literally, thinking about what this bite's gonna be. It's a special sandwich.
Makes it exciting, right?
It does. All right, come on, we do this together?
Sure.
Come on, why not?
Let's do it.
This is not for camera, this is, we're eating a sandwich. Cheers, chef. Thank you, my friend. Cheers. Every time. Oh. It's just this right, it's the perfect temperature. The cheese is melted.
Traditionally, a lot of purists would say that a muffalata is a deli sandwich, that you take it cold and you travel with it and you eat it, and that's fine. But ours is different. Uncle Joe had a deck of it. He used to toast this. I think that the difference of the melted cheese, the slightly toasted bread makes a huge difference.
So I guess the only question I have really is that after we say goodbye, can I just sit here and finish this sandwich?
Please do.
Thank you, chef.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers.
So you obviously can tell I am absolutely fascinated by the culinary scene in New Orleans. I love the cultural influences, the Creole, the Cajun, and the beignets. After lunch, April and I were served a classic dessert, the infamous Bananas Foster at Brennan's, the very restaurant that invented that tasty dessert. But the excellent food in New Orleans isn't limited by geography. See, you can eat and drink your way through every single New Orleans neighborhood and be blown away at the gastronomic perfection. New Orleans is a food town. It's also a water town, which is why I spent a few hours at the Audubon Aquarium and Insectarium. See what I did there?
This aquarium went through a $40 million renovation?
Oh, yeah, it definitely did. Yeah.
Yeah. What did they do?
So we added on the Insectarium, which is really awesome because it used to be at the Customs House.
Right.
And so instead, you get to see the butterfly garden here at the building, which is really neat.
Perfect.
We also added a large jellyfish habitat, another new schooling habitat. We also made it so not only can you see the sharks from the bottom, but you can also see them from the top as well.
So when the families come, who likes what the most?
Oh, it really depends because some people are more bird people, some people are more shark people, and some people like to touch things. So we've got our touch habitat upstairs.
And by the way, we are right next to the Mississippi River.
Yes.
So you talk a lot about that river here.
Yes, we do. We even have a bayou habitat as well, where we have our rare leucistic alligator, Mr. Chopatoulas. And then we have some native species as well in there. So we've got really cool animals like our paddlefish, we've got our catfish, we've got our different types of bass. So it turns out if you turn to someone in a blue shirt and you ask them, tell me about that fish, it might be the exact keeper who takes care of that animal.
Oh my gosh.
So it's such a cool opportunity to be able to talk to the exact people you want to know about these animals.
That's so cool. Carolyn, thank you for this.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
You see, water is a theme here in New Orleans, if you know where to look. Not every vacation has to be a 7th grade educational field trip, but while you're here, make your way over to the National World War II Museum, the New Orleans Museum of Art, or the Sazerac House, because these museums and many, many others are simply fascinating. And speaking of, as you explore the distinct collection of neighborhoods, you'll most likely notice the cemeteries here look a little bit different than perhaps the ones you're used to. I had to know why the graves were above ground.
When the French settled the city initially, they placed cemeteries below the ground, and the rising water table would push them back up above the ground. The caskets would break apart, and people saw their friends and family float by their front door. It was during the Spanish colonial time that the Spanish introduced these above-ground burial forms, which they'd been using in Spain and other former Spanish colonies, but one of the main reasons was the topography. In fact, the first burials were placed right along the banks of the river, because that's where the highest and most well-drained land is, because this is a delta region, and as all of the land here has been created from moving bodies of water which would overflow their banks and build up the natural levees.
Right.
So when the French settled the city in 1718, the levee was 10 feet above sea level naturally. Now it's been artificially reinforced with the levee system to 30 feet above sea level. So the French put the caskets in that relatively high ground. But it was the Spanish that introduced these above-ground burial forms, and the cemetery we're in, so Hurricane Katrina,
Yeah.
an unbelievable amount of water flowed through this cemetery and all the cemeteries. And guess what? No floating caskets. So there are 4 basic types of reusable above-ground burial, and this is the family tomb. And the way these work is you've got more than one vault. You always start burying in the top vault. You begin to move remains down until it's full. Then you have to wait for at least a year and a day, and after that time, take the remains out of the bottom vault and you put them into a chamber in the foundation, which is called a caveau.
Wait a minute. Are we saying all these people are in here?
And maybe more. I've seen burial records of tombs where the inscription tablet might have 10 people, but there might be 40 or 50 people in them.
My gosh. The last person in here was what, 2009?
But you would have to go to the burial record. It might even be more recent than that.
And so these literally, in this case, this would just pop off with a...
Yeah, so it's held in by a screw. You take the plaque off, and there's a layer of brick and plaster in back. You break that down, you take the casket out, you take the human remains out of the casket, put them in a bag, throw the casket away, put the human remains back in there, push them to the back, push them to the side. You just make room.
You make room. Now, well, then there'll be a new casket?
Yes.
Are all the cemeteries in New Orleans open to the public?
There are a couple that aren't.
Okay,
But most of them, I mean, there are 40 above-ground cemeteries that you can walk in and out of.
Are the cemeteries haunted?
I've spent a lot of time in these cemeteries, and I've done a lot of research, and you really don't hear that much.
Right.
There's only one legendary ghost story here that was sort of discredited years ago. People that do believe in paranormal activity and embrace that say that the spirits feel embraced by the city. New Orleans is a city that has a more celebratory approach towards death. And what's a haunted story? It's about it's someone a deceased person whose spirit did not transition for whatever reason.
Right.
Love, trauma, whatever, you know.
Right.
And there's this idea that the French Quarter, that the spirits feel welcome there, you know. And again, the city that invented the jazz funeral, observance of All Saints Day. Louisiana was a Catholic colony, and of course the Catholic Church canonized the saints. So there's that. Now, the second biggest influence, West African religion. So there's always been a tremendous African presence here, and the African religion takes that one step further, and that people become deities themselves. And by the way, this is one of the main reasons that you have voodoo in a place like New Orleans. You find voodoo in former Catholic colonies. But one of the main reasons is enslaved Africans had deities, and they would take Catholic saints and assign them to them, you know, initially to hide it, but over time the saint and the spirit came to stand for the same thing, which gave rise to a very significant outlook in voodoo, which was that all religion says the same thing with a different vocabulary. Now, that's some sort of religious and spiritual ideas, but they're more historic ideas.
So it all has reason, and it all has purpose.
It's all based upon incidents, actual occurrences, in historical people. People love to be scared. There's an adrenaline rush, but quite often it's kind of like this. It's kind of nice. It's comforting, and that's not scary.
No, it makes you feel better. It's just stunning.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, but it's also very peaceful, and it's beautiful in a way that's very unique in its beauty. Even if you don't believe in ghosts, you don't believe in hauntings, you don't believe in voodoo, that's fine. But it's here, and it's something that you can look in on, and you will learn something. Doesn't mean you have to believe. It doesn't mean you have to become a convert. It just means that that's a part of the fabric here, which I think is a really cool thing.
It's so nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
You made
Thank
some
you for
great
this.
points.
Death is a pretty apropos subject to cover at the end of a television episode. But if you're just joining us, for the past 25 minutes, I've been inspired, I've explored, I've listened, I've been fascinated. I've been served delicious food and craft cocktails. My only regret? Oh, wait. I don't have any regrets. I love this town. And so will you.
Well, as they say, Old Man River just keeps rolling along. Unfortunately, our time has rolled to a close. So the next time you're in New Orleans, spend a little time on the Mississippi River. I'm Erik the Travel Guy. Thank you for exploring beyond your backyard. You know, I come to New Orleans in August, I think, where can I get a steaming hot cup of coffee? That's the first thing I think of. I insist.
Thank you.
Come on.
That's about as short as I can make it. That's about as short as I can make. That's about as short as I can. That's about it.
I think he's short-circuiting
That's
a little.
about as short as I can make it.
You would think where the ghost would be hanging out at the cemetery. I don't know why that is. Me, I'd be hanging out like a cafeteria.
So nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
You made
Thank
some
you for
great
this.
points.
Hey, listen, anytime somebody wants to compliment me in my own interview, I'll take it. You know what I mean?
I think he gets New Orleans.
For more information on this episode, visit erikthetravelguy.com. And while you're there, you'll discover other fascinating destinations just beyond your backyard and links to follow me on social media. That's erikthetravelguy.com.
Sky Vacations. Bespoke journeys across Europe, Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East. Sky Vacations, your gateway to global destinations. Let us get you there.
Erik the Travel Guy. You know, I've been exploring the world professionally for more than a decade, and you know what I've learned? Is that fantastic experiences await you in every corner of the globe, but you don't always have to travel that far to uncover them. So join me each week as we go on and off the beaten path, learn something new, and sample delicious culinary. We're exploring beyond your backyard.